I've had to make some arrangements because I'm having to learn how to read my own book, but like for a long time. So I had to get a little stand, you know, so that the book is here so my arms don't get tired. I didn't even think about that the last time. So, all right, let me get started. Chapter 1, Boyer, Blackdom, Colonization, and Continuum. If there was one person whose life encapsulated Blackdomite society and the Afro frontier, it was Francis Frank Marion Boyer, the quintessential archetype of black military, ministers, and Freemasons. Frank's real life was dynamic, but popular stories about him mythologizes Blackdom and borrows from only part of his story, leaving little room for historical analysis or imagination. Frank was often introduced as the leader of Blackdom, New Mexico. In this study, Frank was recognized as one of many leaders in Blackdomite society who were trained thinkers and doers. In the 1890s, Frank first entered Mexico's northern frontier as part of the 24th Infantry Buffalo Soldiers. His unit functioned as border patrol. Black military personnel had authority and tremendous autonomy in the borderlands. Buffalo Soldiers were a vital element in the U.S. exploitation of indigenous peoples and enforced the annexation of their lands. After Frank's military service ended in the early 1890s, he returned to Georgia, where he attended Atlanta Baptist College, Morehouse College today, and trained as a minister. He was an active member of his Prince Hall Freemason Lodge before returning to the borderlands. The Pecos Valley region. In the Pecos River Valley, Frank executed his Afrotopic plans. Myth-making has a place, but Frank's real life helps reveal intersections that invited black migrants to conceive of Afrotopia with him. At the turn of the 20th century, some black institutions grew into multi-million-dollar enterprises. Blackdom was the latest scheme with a business plan to harness the power of people who embraced hard work and trained as ministers, military personnel, and Freemasons. Anomalous as building a town on Desert Prairie seemed, Blackdom was the only incorporated all-black town in the territory of New Mexico, which became a state in 1912 during Blackdom's revival. Territory of New Mexico. Today, little remains of the scheme that began September 5th, 1903, although Frank Boyer maintained that Blackdom Oil Company produced royalty payments into the post-World War II era. The Blackdom scheme was led by Minister Francis M. Boyer, President, Reverend Isaac W. Jones, Vice President, Professor Daniel G. Keyes, Secretary, and Burrell Dickerson, Treasurer, along with 9 other black men who signed Blackdom Townsite Company's Articles of Incorporation. Blackdom Townsite Company was the institution organized by black people to build a town named Blackdom. Blackdomites related themselves according to defined ideals and ideas evident in their documented articulations of self-governance. Rightly, many authors focus attention on Blackdom's co-founder, the first president, Frank Boyer. Important to this study, however, we focus on where black migrants engaged Frank to better understand Blackdom as more than a place that came and went. Blackdom was a proof of concept for ambitious, intentional, intellectual black folks who nurtured frontier sovereignty. For example, predictably, Isaac was a minister and, like Frank, he approached life with a messianic zeal. Isaac was the first in the company to homestead for Blackdom in the spring of 1903. In Chavez County, Blackdom became a real place when Frank completed a 40-acre homestead patent for Township 13 South Range 24 East Aliquots, Northeast 1/4, Southeast 1/4, Section 26 on July 10, 1914. The town square was located about 5 miles on a direct route west of the Dexter train station. Artesia was 20 miles south and Roswell was 20 miles north, both towns of which were linked by Highway 285. All the divisions into villages, towns, and cities in Chavez County were originally Mescalero Apache Reservation land. This study begins on biblically dry silt and sand where black folks employed colonizer freedoms in pursuit of frontier sovereignty. Histories and folklore about the impact of major minor U.S. slave institutions often overshadow the perpetual story of ambitious diasporic African descendants. This excavation of black migration, colonization ascribes meaning to patterns consistent in black folks striving and including slavery as one of many conditions under American blackness. Current propagations of America's grand narratives precludes a popular acknowledgement of black bodies in the Spanish borderlands as significant. Specifically, the grand narrative of New Mexico promotes a tri-cultural, indigenous, Spanish, and white narrative that subsequently prosecutes an exclusionary argument. Moreover, black warriors have always been essential characters in Afrocentric grand narratives during the U.S. annexation of Mexico's northern frontier in the second half of the 20th century. Black military personnel proved useful in the region's transmogrification of Mexico's northern frontier into U.S. territory. Buffalo soldiers helped position black people to benefit in the contestation of stolen lands. Acknowledgement of black people in military service provides evidence for significance in black people's engagement of the U.S.-Mexico borderlands. Although few in number, black people were fundamental to the U.S. westward expansion efforts and had an outsized influence. The Blackdom community reflected the larger hegemonic society and represented a microcosm of colonizer intentionality. Echoing colonization efforts, Blackdom was a trans-colonial model of the hegemonic society. Now, that was further than I went last time. Let me see. So I went from page 13 to page 16 in 10 minutes. I have to figure out how fast I read or how many words I read per, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I'm practicing. Thank you.